Proud Boys and Oath Keepers among 1,500 Capitol riot defendants who Trump pardoned. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued pardons and commutations for more 1,500 people convicted or charged in connection with the U.S. Capitol riot 4 years ago. 14 members of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, two far-right groups, were among those whose sentences were commuted by the new Republican president as he took office on Monday. Trump also signed an order directing the Department of Justice to drop all pending cases against suspects accused in the riot. The executive action came shortly after Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the U.S. inside the Capitol, which was stormed by his supporters on January 6, 2021, as lawmakers met to certify Joe Biden's election victory. During a signing ceremony in the Oval Office on Monday evening, Trump displayed a list of the names of U.S. Capitol riot defendants he said were receiving a pardon. These are the hostages, approximately 1,500 for a pardon, full pardon, Trump said. This is a big one. These people have been destroyed, he added. What they've done to these people is outrageous. There's rarely been anything like it in the history of our country. The proclamation says that it ends a grave national injustice that has been perpetrated upon the American people over the last 4 years and begins a process of national reconciliation. The list of names includes Oath Keeper leader Stuart Rhodes, a former U.S. Army paratrooper and Yale-educated lawyer, who was sentenced in 2023 to 18 years in prison. A lawyer for former Proud Boys leader Henry Enrique Tarrio, who was jailed for 22 years for seditious conspiracy over the riot, said his client also expected to be released. The move was swiftly denounced by Democrats as an attempt to rewrite history. Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, who was among the lawmakers forced to flee during the riot, called Trump's actions an outrageous insult to our justice system and the heroes who suffered physical scars and emotional trauma as they protected the Capitol, the Congress, and the Constitution. The former top Democrat in Congress said Trump has decided to make one of his top priorities the abandonment and betrayal of police officers who had physically fought with protesters to defend lawmakers. Before he was sworn into office, some Trump aides indicated that he would not issue sweeping pardons, but would instead review each conviction on a case-by-case basis. Pam Bondi, Trump's nominee for Attorney General, called for a case-by-case review last week during her Senate confirmation hearing when asked whether Trump's clemency decisions would include those who attack police officers. I condemn any violence on a law enforcement officer in this country, she said. Other top Trump allies who recently called for each case to be reviewed individually include Vice President J.D. Vance and Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. Trump's order came the same day that Joe Biden used the final minutes of his presidency to issue preemptive pardons for his brothers and sister, as well as members of the U.S. House of Representatives committee whose investigation into the Capitol riot concluded Trump was to blame. The melee at the U.S. Capitol lasted several hours. About 140 police officers were injured. Lawmakers fled during the disorder, and an unarmed female rioter was fatally shot inside the building by officers. The Justice Department launched a nationwide manhunt for suspects in its aftermath. More than half the convictions have been misdemeanors, such as disorderly conduct or trespassing. Most convictions resulted in sentences of under 1 year in prison or probation. The group also includes roughly 600 people convicted of felonies for assaulting police officers or impeding law enforcement during a declared riot. It also includes convicts who attack Capitol police officers with weapons, including metal batons, wooden planks, flagpoles, fire extinguishers, and pepper spray. Trump previously called those prosecuted for the riot political prisoners, who posed zero threat. Democrats described the day as an attempted insurrection and an attack on democracy itself. Washington State Democratic Senator Patty Murray said in a statement, "It's a sad day for America when a president who refused to relinquish power and incited an insurrection returns to office years later only to grant violent criminals a presidential pardon or commutation." She also accused Trump of trying to paper over the history and reality of that dark day. Trump has vowed to end birthright citizenship. Can he do it? President Donald Trump has said he plans to end birthright citizenship, which refers to automatic American citizenship granted to anyone born in the U.S. On Monday, he signed an executive order addressing the definition of birthright citizenship. Though the details so far are unclear, birthright citizenship stems from the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which states that all persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States, though Trump has vowed to end the practice. Attempts to do so would face significant legal hurdles. The American Civil Liberties Union and other groups immediately sued the Trump administration over the executive order. The first sentence of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution establishes the principle of birthright citizenship. All persons born or naturalized in the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Immigration hardliners argue that the policy is a great magnet for illegal immigration, and that it encourages undocumented pregnant women to cross the border in order to give birth, an act that has been pejoratively called birth tourism, or having an anchor baby. The 14th Amendment was adopted in 1868, after the close of the Civil War. The 13th Amendment had abolished slavery in 1865, while the 14th settled the question of the citizenship of freed, American-born former slaves. Previous Supreme Court decisions, like Dred Scott v. Sanford in 1857, had decided that African Americans could never be U.S. citizens. The 14th Amendment overrode that. In 1898, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed that birthright citizenship applies to the children of immigrants in the case of Wong Kim Ark v. United States. Wong was a 24-year-old child of Chinese immigrants who was born in the U.S., but denied re-entry when he returned from a visit to China. Wong successfully argued that because he was born in the U.S., his parents' immigration status did not affect the application of the 14th Amendment. Wong Kim Ark v. United States affirmed that regardless of race or the immigration status of one's parents, all persons born in the United States were entitled to all of the rights that citizenship offered, writes Erica Lee, director of the Immigration History Research Center at the University of Minnesota. The court has not re-examined this issue since then. Birthright citizenship, though the details so far are unclear, birthright citizenship stems from the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which states that all persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States, though Trump has vowed to end the practice. Attempts to do so would face significant legal hurdles. The American Civil Liberties Union and other groups immediately sued the Trump administration over the executive order. The first sentence of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution establishes the principle of birthright citizenship. All persons born or naturalized in the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Immigration hardliners argue that the policy is a great magnet for illegal immigration, and that it encourages undocumented pregnant women to cross the border in order to give birth, an act that has been pejoratively called birth tourism, or having an anchor baby.